Welcome to the show Gold Squadron Gays. It's the podcast where two Star Wars loving gays talk about and review their favorite Star Wars content while also being gay as hell. I'm your host, Bradley Brower.
I'm your other host, Charles Rogers, and if you are subscribed to our Patreon at patreon.com/goldsquadrongays for $3 a month, you heard me and Bradley talk about our various Christmas experiences. I did hold one back because I wanted to save it for the general listenership, and that is my mother got me 140 card set of a Star Wars trivia game. I'm on the phone with her. I opened this up, and it's a 140 like trivia card set. Right. I figure we could use it for content at some point.
Sure.
We'll figure it out off the mic. But the point of the story is she goes, oh, it's so you can practice for your next trivia competition. All this building up to. I flip over the back of the box, and like the question they have as an example is who built C-3PO? And they give you four options. It's like Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Padme Amidala.
Okay.
Obviously, it wants you to pick Anakin Skywalker, but I have to be me.
Okay.
And I want all the audience to know I'm like this with everyone in my life. Chris from Dark Side Divas can confirm this is not a bit. I'm just like this. So on the phone with my mom, I'm like, well, it wants to say Anakin Skywalker, but really it should be rebuilt Anakin Skywalker because C-3PO has memories prior to being disassembled and reassembled on Tatooine.
Sure.
We know from the Clone Wars that he once worked for Queen Lena of Onderon. So there is at least some pre-Anakin Skywalker. It's not Anakin Skywalker didn't build him out of spare parts. He rebuilt him.
Right,
and my mother is like, that's great, honey. Enjoy your trivia set.
I thought the problem was going to be that the trivia set came out like before the sequel trilogy or before like something else. So like there's only questions about the OG trilogy.
Well, it now has questions from The Mandalorian. So I think it's just questions about the movies and The Mandalorian.
Okay.
It was a very thoughtful gift. It was part of a package that she got. But I had to be me. I had to be that
guy.
Actually, we know from this animated kid show that actually that's not accurate. So she took it in good humor because she knows me by now. Anyway, we should probably talk about Visions. I wanted to share that story as a teaser for the Patreon, which you could listen to Bradley and I talk about our Christmas experiences for as low as $3 a month. Anyway, if you want to hear the entire discussion on Heated Rivalry that we accidentally had that was cut out of the podcast, you know where to go to find it. I've already said it twice. What are we actually talking about on our actual episode today? Because I do really want to talk about this.
This week we're talking about Star Wars Visions Volume 2, Ao's Song. An alien child who longs to sing is raised by her loving but stern father to stay quiet because of the calamitous effects her voice has on the crystals in nearby mines. This is directed by Nadia Darius and Daniel Clark. This is both of their first directorial debuts, as far as I can tell. Nadia is mostly an animator. This is just her first time directing animation. And then Daniel, he works in multiple departments, but from what I can tell, art department seems to be kind of more his thing.
Yes.
And
so,
yeah.
According to the Filmmaker Focus, Nadia is more on the writing and storytelling side of things.
Right.
And Daniel is much more of a visual artist, and they actually have some of his artwork that they put up on the screen when you're watching the Filmmaker Focus to demonstrate like sketches he did. A lot of the visual look of Ao's Song is based off of paintings and sketches that he did. So this was a case where they had two people combining their strengths together to make this short.
Yes, and they both also are credited as writers for the short, in addition to Julia Smuts Lau, I think that's how you say her last name, who is also one that she's just helped them write it. So, and then she has a bunch of African films that she was a part of. So yeah, and so they're all pretty fairly new to what they were doing, but I think it worked out pretty well. The studio that this was released under is Triggerfish Animation Studios. Triggerfish is a computer animation film studio based in Cape Town, South Africa. The studio is best known for animated feature films in Africa, and they also have produced Disney shows. So they did Disney Junior and Disney Plus shows that are also African shows as well.
And I also, not to jump too much ahead to the animation, but
Mhm.
I do recommend watching. Again, I recommend watching the filmmaker focus. If there's a lesson that I need to be reminded when it comes time to do season three,
Yeah.
watch the fucking filmmaker focus because it's going to give you so much interesting context. There are not a lot of African animation studios. Like, it's not really a thing you think of when you think of, especially
Right.
South Africa. This one, Triggerfish Animation Studios, is literally based out of a barn.
Okay.
They show shots of the barn, and it is not a barn on an abandoned farm. It is a barn on a working farm.
Oh, interesting.
So they talk about in the filmmaker focus how you look up the window and sometimes a cow will just walk by while you're trying to animate. But they did a lot of like when you were a kid, Bradley, did you ever see any of those behind the scenes from the old school Disney movies from like Alice in Wonderland and Snow
Yeah.
White and Peter Pan and all of
Well,
that?
they're like sitting at the drawing desk and they're like showing you all the stuff.
Well, the actors,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, the
what they did
when
with
they're
the
doing
actors,
the reference
when they're doing the
ones. Yeah.
references, yeah,
Yeah.
they had photos in the filmmaker focus of the animators doing reference photos
Oh,
for
wow. Okay.
this. And you can tell they're using the facilities they have to hand.
Right.
So they're using like random windows they have around this studio and they're making do with what they have. And it's really impressive, like how small this animation studio actually is. And they also talked about one thing that they did was that they made physical like dolls for all of the
Yes.
characters
I read that. Yeah.
out of the material that they would be made of because the short is computer animated. It is not stop motion.
Right.
But what they did was they made the physical dolls so they could see how things interacted with each other.
Right. It's
So
like
how
made to
like the
look
felt and
like,
the
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So how like the felt and the leather and all of that would sit and how it would move and like they talked about the fibers of the
Mm-hmm.
felt when you draw like the scarf when she draws the scarf off and the fibers of it how they would pull. So
Yeah.
it really impressive.
No, it's so funny. I was actually looking at, so when I pick my background for the Zoom, I go to like the concept art or whatever. And if you go in the concept art and you look at the character like concepts, they have their palettes listed next to them. And literally there are pictures of like, so like for the Jedi, for example, there's a picture of the main character from Trolls, like in the color palette, and they were like, we need her skin to look like felt like they do in the Trolls movie. Like all the trolls in the Trolls movie look like they're made of felt, like they're made of like a artistic material. And like it's the same thing. There's also pictures of Wallace and Gromit characters, like where they're like, oh, we want them to be like this or whatever. Like it's so interesting. Like when you see it and you're like, oh, I can see all the references.
It's so impressive and like I was a little like what is going on with this animation?
Yeah.
I was a little at first because I couldn't quite figure it out. And then I realized because I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if it was computer
Or
animated or
stop
whether
motion.
it
Yeah.
was stop motion or whether it was a combination of the two.
Hmm.
But when I watched the filmmaker focus, I watched how they did it. I went, oh, that is really impressive. It feels, not to again jump too much ahead, but it feels like an animation short rather than a having that sort of video game cutscene quality.
Right.
So it really feels like they took a lot of love and care in the animation of this one.
Yeah. This one, I mean, I can only compare it to
I Am Your Mother.
I Am Your Mother, which is funny because if you look at like the Wikipedia page and like all the other stuff, this is the one of the only shorts where they took I Am Your Mother and this one and they made it into a graphic novel for kids. Like it's obviously just like clips, I'm sure, of the scenes, like just kind of put in book form. But like they made like
Right.
a young reader's novel, like child book, like out of both of these because of the just the quality of it. Like it just looks like they work perfectly as like kids books. Like it's great.
You want to tell us some more about the cast of this?
Yeah.
I apologize in advance. We're going to do the best we can.
Oh, yeah. Forgive me now for the pronunciation. But so our main character is voiced by Empilo Janti. That she does the talking dialogue for this character, and then Denio Du Toit does the singing.
And they're
for the
two
crew.
young. All of these actors except one are local to South Africa. These are two
Correct.
little girls actors that uh, are based in South Africa.
Correct. So this is pretty much what they're known for. And then the father is voiced by Tumisho Masha, who has done African films and TV, but most recently he featured in the Apple TV series Invasion. So that's his most recent claim to fame. And then
He hadn't really done anything that I'd
it's a
seen,
lot of
but he
African stuff that I obviously have never seen, but it was that one I stood out to me because obviously it's a pretty popular
stories
show.
and
So
stuff I've never seen before
yeah.
playing someone from South Africa because he has a very distinctive South African accent.
Hmm.
And he talks about, too, the actor specifically with his very large arms that I could not stop staring at because congratulations, sir, on your arms. But he was talking in the filmmaker focus about how it was important to the crew that all of the people on this planet, other than the Jedi, who we'll talk about, I assume last, have this distinctive accent. And it's an accent that's like nowhere else on Earth. And so that was very cool. I'm looking at it, and yeah, he's played Nelson Mandela in a movie, but oh, actually, this movie looks really interesting. It's called Mandela's Gun. It's a political thriller. Yeah, I actually need to watch this. This is going on my list of shit to watch.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of someone who has played a historic figure in the past and gotten awards for it,
Yeah, you want
um,
to talk about our last
yeah,
we're talking about our last there's one actress that is not from South Africa
right.
that they cast in this. And I was gobsmacked when I got to the credits and realized this is who is voicing
This came out
the
of left
Jedi.
field for me because I was like, oh, that's a great way to end this because I was very shocked. Anyway, so
Who is voicing Kretu the Jedi?
Cynthia Erivo is voicing the Jedi character, who we all know was recently in the Wicked films, but she has appeared at other things before and Broadway. But so when I was joking that she has played a historic figure, she did obviously Harriet Tubman in the
Yes.
Harriet Tubman adaptation. But did you know that Cynthia Erivo also has a Disney trifecta?
I just recently learned this. Why don't you tell us about her Disney trifecta?
So we've mentioned this show before. I think it was in either the last one or whatever.
It was the last
It was the
episode.
last episode. So she would did a voice in the Marvel cartoon series Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And then she was also the Blue Fairy in the live action adaptation of Pinocchio. So there
Yeah,
we go.
you know who Cynthia. If you pay attention to pop
I
culture
I
recently,
was
you
gonna
know who
say
Cynthia
yeah,
Erivo
you
is.
must have to know by now if you
You
don't
cannot
already.
escape, even if you haven't seen Wicked, you cannot escape Wicked. It
Right.
is one of
In
the
the last
biggest
2 years, you know
movies of the
who she
last two
is.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know who Cynthia Erivo is.
She is now in the zeitgeist of general knowledge for sure. If she wasn't already to begin with, because I'm pretty sure she started making waves when she was in the Harriet movie, and then from that, I mean, now obviously Wicked is too big to ignore, so I feel like you know who she is. So,
Yeah,
but
that was when
yeah,
I first heard of her.
mhm.
But she's also, let me see what I'm pulling up her.
Her IMDb.
Well, I was just looking at her IMDb.
Well, she's also in Broadway. I don't know what she's done on Broadway, but I know that she's
That's
done.
what I'm looking up.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So I'm not a Broadway
She has
girly. I
been
don't know.
in she has been in the UK tour of Sister Act.
Mhm.
She was in The Color Purple. She was in
I knew that
a
one.
production of Henry the Fourth as the Earl of Douglas. That's really interesting.
And then she
Uh,
just recently did I think it was Jesus Christ Superstar. She was
she was Jesus
yeah.
Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl.
Honestly, I think she's actually underused in this short because now that we know she's such a big star, I this came out a couple years ago, obviously, so this was before she kind of blew up. I actually think it's a waste because of this short being so musically inclined, like or like the backstory of this short is all about music and how her voice resonates with the crystals and like all this stuff. It's like you have a person who can fully sing and you
You don't
didn't
want to
use
have
them.
Cynthia Revo belt a note?
Right. Like she could have done some kind of singing to incorporate how singing is important in this whole thing. And maybe that's how she uses her as a Jedi. She uses her powers. Like she uses singing too. Like it's like, oh, that would be so interesting. Like there's a lot left on the table for at least that aspect of this.
I mean, the short's getting into my opinion of it. The short's pretty good as it is. Like,
Yeah.
I remember really not liking it the first time that I watched it, but we've talked before about sort of the two issues with it, or the arc fatigue
Yes.
to a degree to where you've binged. I feel the necessity to binge Star Wars when it comes out, and that is not a healthy thing to do. And I try to balance it appropriately, but when you feel obligated for a number of reasons to watch a piece of media as soon as it drops, rather than when you want to when you want to watch it or when you kind of can watch it, it does get exhausting and it does change the way you engage with it. It was like, well, now I have to sit down and watch this immediately because I'm going to get spoiled or
Right.
somebody's going to ask me a question or somebody's going to do something, send me a meme or something that's going to spoil the thing. And so I'd gotten to the end of it and I was just like, I'm exhausted. This is not that great. But also, it was followed by Bandits of Golak, which was I did not enjoy and still do not enjoy, and The Pit, which I've come around to respect, but I did not enjoy on my first viewing. And then this one kind of was coming up at the end, and I was like, whatever. Watching it now in isolation, really good.
No, it's actually a
I liked it a
solid
lot.
episode.
It's
Yeah.
very solid. It's one of those stories that understands it's a short film.
Exactly. They didn't try to like introduce like a million new lore things and like, oh, we're gonna get a continuation, so we better throw in like all this extra stuff, just backstory. Like you didn't need it. It's purely a short film, and that's all it needed to be, and it was great.
It slaps text on at the beginning to
Yeah.
explain the world building just so we can get right into
Right.
the interesting part, which I do respect. That's why text is there at the beginning. So
Hmm.
fucking CinemaSins, who I hate with the burning passion of 1,000 suns. One of the things they count as a sin is if you have reading at the start of a movie or something. And I'm like, you guys know why that's there, right? You guys know why the original Star Wars opened with a title crawl, right?
Right. It's like
It
literally
was
tradition. It's literally
it was well, one, it's tradition, but two, it's a holdover to like the Flash Gordon days. Actually, Star Trek has a version of this
Hmm.
with the captain's log. I don't know if they do it in new Trek that Bradley has watched, but I've been watching old Trek and Next Generation, the original series. I'd say about half of Deep Space Nine so far has opened with a station log. But if there's exposition, they dump it up front. So Picard gets on the mic and he
Hmm.
goes, Stardate, whatever. We are in the Severine system to conduct diplomatic negotiations with boring shit that we don't care about. Boom, we're right into the episode.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
all the new
Counselor
shows do
Troy's
that.
having horrible visions, or whatever the plot of the episode is going to be.
Yeah, yeah. They
And
always
Star Wars is
narrate
the
in the
same
beginning.
thing.
Yeah.
And this short wisely carries that through, where it's like, here's how kyber crystals are different in this. Kyber crystals are corrupted. Jedi can purify them. Boom, we're off to the plot.
Hmm.
We don't need to worry about the dad turning to the audience to explain the plot of the kyber
Right, because then
crystals.
he'd be like, I've told you this a million times. The crystals are dangerous because XYZ. And then when the Sith came and da da da, like that would be bad exposition because then it's like, okay, you're gonna tell us this. Like literally, I was just watching Stranger Things, and literally in the episode, she goes, you've told me a million times. She's like, tell me again. Like, and then she explains the exposition. And I was like, you guys can come up with a better way to do that because there's no like she's like, you've told me a million times. She's like, I know I've told you a million times. Tell me again. And I was like, okay, well, guys, that's the oldest trick in the book. Like, we can't do exposition dumps like this. Like, you gotta come up with a better way. Like,
No, and it lets the sort of plot of the short itself be more character focused. Because I did notice about this one too, is that there's not a lot of world building in terms of like the world around Al and her father.
right.
Most of the short is about their relationship. And it's very interesting visually, but it doesn't like take a lot of time to it assumes that you will get the general vibe of what is going on, and that's not what's important. The relationship between Al and her father is what is important. And so that is the vast majority of this short.
Yeah, no, I like it because it's like on the one hand, he's like, oh, I need to protect her because the crystals are dangerous and blah 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 blah. But then through doing that, he is stunting her as a clearly force sensitive person who is like, oh, I'm just trying to get in touch with nature or crystals or whatever the fuck, right? Which is a common trope, I guess. It's like, oh, I have to like hide your magical ability kind of trope, you know? But I think they do it in a way that makes sense because he just doesn't realize it. It's not like he doesn't do it in a way that like he knows she's magical. He's doing it in a way that like, oh, like these are like look, I'm showing you the burn on my hand because the crystal like freaked
Yeah,
out
on
when
his
you sang. Like,
glove,
right.
where
Yeah.
he has to wear gloves when he's dealing with the Kyber, and you can see the physical, like when she sings and it kind of pops. Yeah, that he doesn't realize that, like, well, if she were to keep going, she could purify
Purify the
the
crystal.
crystal. We can't blame him for not knowing that, and we can't blame him for
Right.
like clearly wanting to protect his daughter. There's also no mother in the picture. That's
Right.
it's a little bit of storytelling in the negative space as well, to
Hmm.
where we don't know what happened to Al's mother. They
Yeah,
never
maybe
reference
something
it.
happened in the
Yeah,
mines or
they
something.
never
Like, yeah, we
reference
don't
it.
know.
They don't tell you. There's not a random longing shot on a family photo. It's just
Yeah.
there is no
Yeah.
mother in the picture, and we know
Right.
that the
There's no
Kyber is
shrine to her in the
dangerous.
house where they're
Yeah,
like,
at
oh,
least not that I saw. So there's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
negative space in the storytelling that also contributes to the story.
Hmm.
The absence of one of the parents in this, and the dad being like, these crystals are super dangerous. And I also liked too, I couldn't help but compare this one somewhat to the little girl writing in Bandits of Golak. Remember, I talked about how, like, the Bandits of Golak is driven by this child being like having no sense of self preservation whatsoever. I was kind of watching for this with Al's song, and I liked sort of how Al's impulsive like actions are treated in this much better. It
Yeah.
felt much more respectful and much more realistic to her as a character because she does try. She tries to go along with what her father says. She loves her father. She clearly respects him, but she hears this call
Right.
that she can't ignore. And the character journey for her is she's stuck in this limbo to where she can't fully comply with what her father wants, which is done out of love for her, but at the same time she also like can't ignore, like she can't go all in on this call yet. And so at the end she chooses like, I'm going to go all in on this and I'm going to embrace my gift. And you know, she does it after character growth over the course of this short, but she's also like, the actions she takes are not just because she wants to. She has thought about them and reasoned them out, and at the same time she still can't resist this impulse. So I thought there was a lot of character to her. You're right, it's a very like told time and time again story, but there's a reason these stories are told time and time again.
Yeah, no, I think it is a basic story. We have seen this story before in some capacity. It's the whole, we have the character who is special, and then the sage character comes and takes them out of that situation to go train them to become a better person or
That's the plot of the
improve
first
their.
fucking Star Wars movie.
Right. It's literally the same. I did like how they took out there is one element though that they took out, which is there's someone villainous chasing them, so we're on a time crunch, like, oh, we have to make this decision now or else like I'm going to die or your parents are going to die or whatever. So I'm glad they didn't include some kind of inquisitor or bounty hunter character in this because I think it would have taken away. This is a little bit more slower paced, or it's like a little bit more like even the Jedi is like, I mean, I'm leaving tomorrow. Like, so you guys can decide whether or not you want to come. Like, it's not like she was like, she has to come, otherwise she will die. It's
Right.
no, you can make that decision on your own. Like, if you guys want me to take her, I will, and I'll increase her potential and what she's her calling or whatever. But like, if you don't want her to leave, you don't have to. Like, it's very weird because like if this were canonical, we'll call it, the Jedi would be like, no, she needs to come with me. She needs to be tested. She needs to be trained. Like, this is like obviously important.
We've seen it. That's the plot of the Phantom Menace.
Right. So I feel like I like this is just a little bit nicer version of that, I think. I mean, and because of the guise of this is a stop motion animation, very childlike felt, artistic looking thing, it is supposed to be like, okay, it's a little more child friendly, a little bit more whatever. But it has potential. I mean, it could be other things. I just feel like this is just a nicer way to tell the story.
No, it was a perfect choice. It was a perfect,
Yeah.
they made a lot of good choices in the production design. They made a lot of good choices in the animation style that they used. You know, the kind of jerky stop motion-esque animation that they do, which is
Yeah.
It works for because they're trying to make it look like actual materials are being used. So the stop motion kind of jerky animation goes really well with it. It took me about 20 seconds to get used to it, and then I got used to it, and we proceeded on with the short. It's very creative. It's very creative visually. And I love too sort of the relationship between the characters in the world and the physical natural world around. And I love that it's rocks. I love that it's rocks and spires and stones that are very green and thus coded to our eyes visually as nature. But much of the natural forces are underground. That it's literally within the earth as opposed to doing trees and flowers and shit, which is fine. But for this, it adds such an interesting new depth to it. And I thought it was really fucking good and really fucking pretty to look at. And you're right, it's lower stakes. Like there's no Inquisitor. There's a Mandalorian for 30 seconds, but he's
Yeah,
just
and he looked really
buying
cool
shit.
too. Yeah.
Really cool design on that Mandalorian, but he's just there and
Yeah, I
buying
like how they
stuff.
tagged him. He's just purple Mandalorian. I was like, I like that. Like that's such a fun color
Yeah,
for a
it's very
Mandalorian.
very cool, very cute, but like it lets this story breathe. And it, you know what it really reminded me of? You know what short it really reminded me of? The Village Bride.
I could see that.
And the opening half of The Village Bride, where it's really about being in tune with the force of the earth beneath you. That the force is in all things. It penetrates us and binds the galaxy together.
Right.
And part of it is the natural force that is within the rocks and the plants and the water and all of that around us. And the first half of The Village Pride captured that really well. And this also captured that really well.
Well, I mean, that's all I have to say. I mean, it was good. It wasn't like I
It
don't
was
have
good.
complaints. I don't have anything bad to say about it. So I just kind of like, yeah, I liked it. There we
Yeah,
go.
it wasn't like absolutely blowing my mind, like
No, but it was a good
knocking my
ending
socks off.
to what. Well, before we get into that, I was gonna say let's do how we want the story to continue, and then let's go into the overall series of this season because I feel like we're pretty much done talking about the short, but I feel like we should talk about the season as a whole because I feel like it's a different tone.
I'd love to see more of Cynthia Erivo's Jedi.
I fully was just about to say
She's very interesting, and I would love to see more of her.
I want to see more of her. On the one hand, I want to see more of her. As much as I would love to see Cynthia Erivo in a live action Star Wars, I don't want to give her a random skin color again in a movie because she's
She's
already done that
purple.
once. Yeah, I don't
She's
want to be like,
purple.
well, you've already been green, so let's make you purple now. I don't want to do that to her because I feel like that's a disservice to her. But if I mean, if there was no other course of action, I'd be like, sure, let's do it. However, I would love to see an animated, like, I think her character would fit in really interestingly in animation. I would love to see her in the Clone Wars style or the Bad Batch style, I guess we'll call it now, because that's like the most recent. I think that because I feel like we've evolved from Clone Wars. I think the Bad Batch style, I think I would watch a show about her. I think she's interesting enough of a character. And if she has a Padawan or whatever that shows up and just happens to visually look exactly the same as the short. I don't know. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, who's maybe older? Like, maybe we do like a little time jump in post fall of the order, and then maybe they both survived or whatever. And that was because it says that this takes place in 19 BBY, so or before the fall of the Jedi Order. So I would be curious to see if that translates. But anyway, yeah, it was a good enough story, and I think that's how I would want it to continue is just a story about the Jedi character. I think the best.
Yeah, there's been a couple of these shorts that I'm like, I think they did a really good job understanding they're making short films, and we don't need to see the story is over. We don't need to be part of a broader universe, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But at the same time, like there's really interesting visuals and really interesting characters that they've come up with that I would like to see elsewhere, which has been successfully done, at least with F from The Village Bride.
But let's talk about season two, our final thoughts, just as a whole, like how we felt about taking a trip around the world, going to different animation studios this time around.
Did not love the idea when I originally watched the season, taking them one episode at a time. They were, for the most part, pretty good. Excellent choices on the studios. They did a really fucking banger job on a producing level of picking the studios that they wanted to work with. And the studios turned out some really good content, and they turned out some really like evocative of their specific culture and geographic location and just very, very, very cool. Very, very, very cool to see. Not all of them were hits, but all of them at least had something interesting going on in them.
Right.
And I think it overall, I'm largely positive. I think this is the weakest season.
I
I
think so.
do think that this is the weakest volume of Visions, but I respect what this was trying to do. And when they did hit, they absolutely fucking hit. Screechers Reach and I Am Your Mother, mind-blowingly good. And most of the other shorts were pretty good. Like I can only think of like really one and a half that I didn't like. So
Yeah.
generally they did pretty well this time around. Gotta stop releasing these all in one batch.
Got to.
You gotta stop, Lucasfilm. You
Especially these
got,
ones. Yeah.
especially the ones towards the end. Like do them in chunks.
I think,
If you
yeah.
must release them on a shortened window, do it in chunks of three,
Part one, part
because
two, part three.
you're
100%.
absolutely doing these films a disservice by lumping them all together, and then it takes 3 fucking hours to watch the
Yeah.
season, and by the time you get to the end, you can't appreciate the ones that are towards the end of it. It's I'm I'm very, very happy with this season, and I'm glad that we covered it. And there's definitely some of these shorts that I might put on in the background when I'm working. What about you, Bradley? What
Yeah.
did you think of season two overall?
I
Volume
think it
two,
was,
fucking
I think
whatever.
volume two. Yeah. I think it was fine. I think I like the concept better than I like the execution. I think I like the idea of the different countries. I think that were they to do another season, I mean, you never know, obviously. I think season four, they should go back to this format again. They should try again, and they should do multiple countries. I think they should maybe take the ones that were really strong and give them another thing to do, or they should give maybe some of the ones that were weaker, maybe give those to spaces to people who are newer countries, maybe like just ones that we haven't seen yet or something, or whatever. Maybe there's an Italian, animation company, or maybe there's whatever, you know what I mean? Like maybe there's an Australian animation company, or just like random things like that. There are other countries, I'm sure, that have animation studios that would be love the chance to do this. I also think that some of the ones that did really well deserve another thing or more opportunity. So I'd be curious to see how that goes. I like I like the concept. I think when you do the execution, yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And I think some of the ones it just didn't work out. However, I think that I'm glad they took the risk, because like whether or not you liked the Bandits of Golak, at least it was something. Like they tried to do something. Like I would have rather them do the something and then be bad at it than like just not even give India a chance. Like and be like, nah, we're not gonna let them even try. Like I'd rather that, because that just because 88 Pictures is a bad seed doesn't mean that there's another company out there that's not. You know what I mean? So I think it's worth giving a second chance to. I would be curious to see what they can come up with.
There's a
I
lot of
do,
these countries
yeah.
that have very vibrant animation communities, but
Hmm.
just yeah, I do agree with even ones that were really good. Like I would like to see a different UK studio get a shot
Right, yeah,
at
because I
Star
mean, I
Wars.
love Aardman
I
animations,
I
but I'd
loved
want to see something
Aardman,
else. Yeah, for sure.
but yeah, I would want to see something else. I would not want to see more of the same. And
Right,
I
right, right,
think
right.
that was sort of the thing with anime originally is there's so much diversity within the medium of anime itself,
Right.
specifically
In yeah.
Japanese animation,
Hmm.
can do so many different interesting visual things while still being recognizably anime.
Well, that's all on Star Wars Vision Season 2.
Yep, we're done. I
Guess
have to
we're
actually work on shit now. I like doing visions because I just have to watch the episode,
yeah.
watch the filmmaker focus, do a little Googling, and that's great. But now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go back to notes, and we're kind of out of TV.
I
That's
was
sort
gonna
of a
say
problem that we ran into.
we gotta give a little hint here, because here's the problem.
We got to explicitly announce it, but we'll lead
Star
into
Wars
it.
is not pumping out content like it used to. Okay,
No.
there's
This is
not
good, by the way. I am
right.
very
It's a
happy
good
that they
thing.
have stopped dumping shit onto
Yes.
Disney Plus every 5 fucking minutes. Very happy about
Right.
this. We have Visions 3, but
Right.
we
We can
didn't
still
want
do
to
Visions
jump
3,
right
right?
into Visions 3. We are going to do Visions 3 before the Ninth Jedi comes out if we can.
Right. That's our
We're going to
goal.
cover it at
Once we have
least.
a release date. Yeah.
Yeah, once we have a release date, we're going to cover Visions 3 before the Ninth Jedi. anime
Right.
that's coming out. And we will cover The Ninth Jedi when it comes out. But unfortunately, we are sort of out of new content because we spent a lot of last year and this year catching up. We spent a lot of this year catching up on
Right. And
shows that
I'm,
we didn't
yeah.
watch because of the strike. And now we're sort of out of content. But we also have the problem of the release schedule. So we wanted to do something that we could stop and start when we got more stuff. We don't know when Maul's coming out. Mandalorian and Grogu is not going to get a full deep dive until it's on Disney. I
Right.
can't do it. I can't go see this movie
No.
10 times. I cannot go see this movie 10 times with a flashlight, sitting in the back of the theater, scribbling my notes and trying to look at things on my phone.
Right.
That won't work. So we'll do a Mandalorian and Grogu reaction episode, but we're not going to cover it in depth until it leaves the theater. So it sort of presented a problem to us. Now, we do have the occasional book and the occasional comic series to cover, but we kind of want to keep those as special deals, and we kind of want to keep to TV while we have TV to cover.
Right. Because I mean, I'm looking at
We
like
are TV
releases and stuff.
guys. Like
Right.
that's our thing, is we are sort of TV guys who also are into men. That's sort of the premise of the entire podcast.
We are a visual medium.
We are visual medium
We're visual
people, at
people.
least as far as
Yeah.
what we wanted to cover. So what we ultimately decided was we were gonna have sort of a filler thing where we would have something we could start and stop as things came out. And Starfighter is coming out in 2027. The very first official, well, visual media thing set after Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
Not the first thing set after The Rise of Skywalker. There's been stuff that has come out canonical that's set after Rise of Skywalker.
Stuff, right. Yeah.
But this is the first visual media thing that is set after The Rise of Skywalker. So we figured that while we have time to kill, it basically came down to either doing the Clone Wars, which everybody does. I don't want to do Clone Wars or Rebels until we are out of content. Like, we truly have nothing else visually that we can do. Go listen to Dark Side Divas, go listen to Guys and Jedi, go listen to First Steps of Star Wars podcast. All three of those podcasts have fully completed Clone Wars and Rebels. And all three of them have very different takes on the material. Go listen to that. You don't need to listen to us talk to Clone Wars and Rebels. And I could not convince Bradley to do droids and Ewoks yet. It's coming. One day I'll talk him into it.
I could see us doing it as some kind of like react thing, but I don't know if I could do a full breakdown of that.
I fucking could do it. I absolutely could do it.
There's nothing there.
You said that before. You've said that very recently. The Jedi Prince books. You were like, there's nothing there. Motherfucker, we talked about those books for like 8 hours.
Okay, but that's because it was crazy and weird. It wasn't a fucking 80s cartoon. Like, it wasn't.
Those are also crazy. We need to have this argument off of the mic.
Alrighty, well.
Droids and Ewoks may be coming if I can convince Bradley. So what did we land on filling the time with when we have gaps in the release schedule?
We will begrudgingly, against my better wishes, start the god-awful animated series.
It's really good.
Star Wars Resistance.
We're doing Resistance. We're actually doing all of the sequel content. So we're going to start with Resistance.
Right.
And we're going to do Resistance and the sequel trilogy as we get to them in the timeline. So we're going to do Resistance Season 1, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Season 2, Rise of Skywalker. And hopefully we'll be able to finish it around the point Starfighter comes to Disney Plus. So we can do that one.
Yeah, but then we'll be kind of like caught up timeline wise.
Yes. So for the next year,
right,
anytime we have a gap and we don't have something else to cover, we will be covering some of the sequel trilogy auxiliary content. I am also going to try to convince Bradley to maybe read some of the books and some of the shorter comics, but we will see regarding time what time he has
available. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's at least one book, Bradley, that I'm not going to say on mic, but I really, really, really want you to read before we read The Force Awakens.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do. So tune in next week because we are going to start off the new year strong with Season 1, episode 1, The Recruit, part 1.
Loves it.
Love it. I'm very, very excited because you've only watched part of season 1 and didn't like it.
Yeah, I can't remember how far I got in it. Maybe I finished season 1. I really don't remember, honestly, but I just vaguely remember watching it. I don't remember like all the episodes or anything like that. So we'll see.
Well, we're gonna watch it now.
Okay.
Well, Pluggables, Bradley, reality TV, watch it. Keep him employed. He just moved, so we need to pay for him to move again.
Now I'm spending money on rent, so
now he's spending money on rent when he was previously not spending money on rent. So
yeah, it was nice.
Please watch Bradley's TV shows. They include such shows as Married to Medicine, which is currently releasing a season on Bravo. He's also worked on Temptation Island, The Circle, Queen's Court, King's Court, other stuff. Do you even have an IMDb page? I don't think you do.
Nope.
Okay, well, somebody needs to make Bradley an IMDb page then. I have one. Speaking of me, you can find me on the Star Wars TTRPG podcast For Light and Dice, which has just finished its 2nd season. Please go listen to that. It ends on a hell of a cliffhanger. And I briefly forgot that Beach House Studios existed when I was doing my pluggables. But those are queer mystery, thriller, crime drama novels. 4 of them are out. They're on Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, and you can request that your library acquire them through Overdrive at market price, because I think charging libraries extra for their copies is bullshit. And that is all of the stuff else that we have going on. So Happy New Year, everyone. I think this episode is coming out 3 days before New Year's, 2 days before New Year's Eve. So Happy New Year.
Out,
it's been a wild 2025, and I'm excited to dive into the sequel era after Bradley runs our socials. Thank you for listening to Gold Squadron Gaze. Did Charles fuck something up? Email us at goldsquadrongaze@gmail.com and let us know. You can follow us on BlueSky, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Gold Squadron Gaze. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Gold Squadron Gaze, where we post full episodes of this podcast. If you like the podcast, you can also rate us and review us on your favorite podcast app of choice. Please join us next week and every week for another episode of Gold Squadron Gaze.
If it comes out naturally, it's better.
You gotta slide it, like you gotta work it in.
Sure.
Like you gotta figure out a way. Like you can't just ram it in there at every opportunity.
I knew you were gonna do
It's that. About grace, it's about finesse, it's about timing.
Speaking of heated rivalry, I just think that
Yeah, speaking of that last episode of Heated Rivalry.